Now we're getting into some of the more specific methods and approaches, starting with what is called passive water harvesting. So, how would you define what that method is?
Okay, passive water harvesting, when you look at it, it just sits there. And another way to think of it is earth sculpture. And at my place, that means in my front yard, I am harvesting water that flows down off the roof into rain gutters, and that empties into a downspout, goes down to the ground, and then it goes into a drainage swale. And when you think of a drainage swale, think of a rocky creek bed that's dry most of the time. And
Hmm.
what are the rocks doing in there? The rocks are like an obstacle course for water. We want water to slow down, spread out, and sink into the ground. And the reason for that is because in urban environments like Tucson, when it rains, we get a lot of rain all at once, like 1 or 2 inches. And in urban environments, more than half of that water becomes runoff that floods our streets and our washes. So, with the passive water harvesting, with the sculpting the earth, we're getting it to slow down and stay around and not cause a flood. So, okay, we're starting out into that swale. Then the water goes into a basin that can hold 250 gallons. That's how much you would get off of my 500 square feet of roof on the front during a 1 inch storm. Okay, rain, it's not going to say, okay, 1 inch, we're done, bye. Rain is just going to keep happening until it stops. So I have a second basin for overflow, and there's a little pathway, little low pathway between the two basins. If you look at the system from above, it looks like an hourglass. So I can harvest 500 gallons in mulched basins. They have wood chip mulch in them. The mulch is there to slow the evaporation of the water and keep it in the ground and soaking down into the water table a little longer. And then at the edge of my yard, to keep the water from escaping into the street, I have a big berm. And think of that berm as like a big hug around the edge of my yard.
If someone wants to just absolutely get started, they're looking at their landscape and they're saying, you know what, it's flat. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here. What would be a good way for them to troubleshoot and diagnose how to start even designing a passive system?
You do it like Martha did. I was forced to do something about it. Um, when I moved in here, the ever efficient neighborhood grapevine told me that in my backyard, which sloped ever so gently toward the house, it would have floods that would come into the house. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go canoeing in the living room. So I set about digging a swale in the backyard that made a right hand turn around the corner of the house and it would come out in the front yard. The trouble with that was it didn't work. I still had backyard flooding. So that's when I started reaching out for help and I found Watershed Management Group. They came in and did earthworks in the backyard first, which pretty well solved the flooding problem. But I will tell you what really completely solved it, as far as I'm concerned, is in 2020 when they installed the cistern. I'll tell you, 1,500 gallons of water coming off that roof into rain gutters and then plumbing that goes to a cistern solves a lot of flooding problems. I have not
Yes, it
had a
does.
flood since.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because that is basically my exact experience as we start talking about active water harvesting. How would you differentiate the two? Because one might say, hey, passive, I still had to dig the swale, I still had to dig the basin. Like, is that not active? What's the difference?
Well, active water harvesting features, unlike passive, they are human made and they don't blend into the landscape the way a passive water harvesting landscape does. A cistern is quite noticeable. I've got a 1,500 gallon cistern. The company name is Bushman. That thing stands out. And another thing about active water harvesting systems is you don't have to wait for it to rain in order to use them. Uh, I get out early in the morning, like the 5 a.m. hour, to water my two raised bed vegetable gardens. I can use that active water harvesting system then, or I can use it at 5 in the evening. All I have to do is open that ball valve. I connect the ball valve with a short hose. This is the kind of a hose you use for laundry supply line for your washing machine. And
Okay.
that goes into a watering can. And I fill up the watering can and take it to where it's needed. Not the fastest way of watering, but it's kind of like a morning meditation for me to fill up those cans and take them over. First, I start with a small bed with the sweet potatoes, and then I work on the big bed, which also has 4 oyas in it. Those are ceramic, un, unfinished ceramic containers that you pour water into that soaks into the ground beneath the soil. So it's my morning meditation to fill the oyas, not every day, but at least twice a week, water the gardens, and then, get everything get everything closed down. One of the things that's very important about raised bed gardening here, any kind of gardening here, especially in the summer, is you need to shade your garden. And I have a total of 5 shade cloths over these 2 beds because the sun here is so powerful. So I do need to um, remove some screws from magnets so I can get one system open, the big bed, and I also have to move a shade cloth out of the way. In other words, disconnect the magnet from the shade cloth support on another one. So there's a little bit of doing, but it's my morning routine. It's a meditation of sorts. And one of these days, those darn gardens are going to produce something.
Watch the full episode right here and subscribe for more new episodes every single week.